Good evening. The title of this video is maybe a little bit strange, but the title of this video is 23 Minutes of Life. Winter Andrews, an infant whose birth was looked forward to by her husband, her mother and father, was not only disgracefully looked after, but abandoned and given scant thought. Winter's mother went to the hospital because she thought she was feeling the first contraction pains of birth, which is the feeling which any mother knows what's happening. This is so common as to be, how could I put it best, normal. She went to the hospital because the hospital is where the people are who know what they are doing. But this hospital sent Mrs. Andrews home with aromatherapy, bloody candles or whatever, and to have a bath. What help that was going to do remains a mystery. But she returned 4 days later, I think it was 4 days later, with oncoming pains again of the oncoming birth. And the Nottingham Hospital, which is supposed to be a centre of excellence, was actually nothing of the bloody sort. She was ignored, standards were ignored. How could I put it best without bursting into swear words of infinite possibility? This woman placed her trust in Nottingham University Hospital Trust Hospital, and she was abandoned by them. And they, I think it's about 2 years later, a year after the inquest found that tiny Winter could have lived if she had been delivered earlier. But the awful thing about this whole thing is this smug bastard walking towards the cameras with his clipboard and his bloody glasses and saying he is terribly, terribly sorry. That doesn't count as far as I'm concerned. Nobody's been fired. Nobody's been fined. Nobody's been sent to bloody jail because everybody's pointing fingers like that at everybody else. And that poor woman and her husband have to walk away with emptiness in their hands and their hearts. And this sort of thing will continue time after time, because nobody gets fired, nobody gets brought up on charges, nobody gets sent to prison. from the smug bastard who stood in front of those cameras and said, "Oh, dear me, I'm so sorry." No, you're not. No, you're not sorry. You're backed up by 6 ranks of bloody lawyers. Whatever you say, you don't accept responsibility for anything. The so-called doctors, the so-called midwives, the so-called midwives, the so-called reception staff, they're all guilty of somewhere near manslaughter, if not murder, because nobody gives 2 shits. The NHS that we were supposed to clap because they were doing so well. Clap? I'd rather clap them all in bloody irons, I really would. I won't refer to my own pain and grief and problems, because, as I've said on maybe another video, I've made an end to it. But I cannot help but be reminded that in this life there's the law, and there's justice, and then there's the NHS way of doing things. And nobody yet has reconciled one with the other. I'll remind you again, nobody's been fired, nobody's been sacked, nobody's been charged with manslaughter, involuntary or otherwise. And that tiny infant, I know about tiny infants. My own first grandson was born, I think it was somewhere around about 6 odd weeks prematurely in a London hospital. And his father had to clean the bloody blood from the floor of the last delivery before my grandson's mother could lie on the bed safely to prepare to give birth, because there was no bugger around to clean up. Nobody gives 2 shits. This pain on this scar on me temple here, that's a sign of a job well done. I was up for an inspection by a consultant for a scar, whatchamacallit, on my head. But that particular item had disappeared. But she found that there was a spot on my temple which gave her concern, and I joined the queue, and in due course I was invited in for an examination and a biopsy, and this dead clever lady surgeon and her assistant chopped this damn thing up and put some stitches in and put a couple of, I think they're called steri strips over it, and patted me on the head and said, "You're off." Because these are professionals, and you expect professional treatment from a hospital which says it prides itself on compassionate care. But in baby Winter's case, there was nothing but laziness, obstruction, don't give 2 shits attitude. And that tiny baby lasted 23 minutes before she died through lack of oxygen to the brain because of the NHS and the maternity services at Nottingham University Hospital betrayed that woman and her husband, and they betrayed Winter, and Winter died after 23 minutes of life. I leave you with that short thought for today's small video, an epitaph for an infant who lasted exactly 23 minutes. I thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again.